Welcome to the making of with Oumou, a visual artist from Senegal based in Berlin, Germany. How are you, Oumou?
Hi, thank you for having me, Abulele. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good myself. It's a pleasure to have you. I just watched your film recently, Fill the Ground. I mean, knowing you were a photographer and making a short film, how was that experience? Like how what made you make a film instead of like projecting the idea of the film that you made in a photography sense, since you were a photographer?
So, when I was applying for the funding, which is actually, the main reason why I made the film, the topic was sustainability in fashion, and I saw that I had way too much to talk about, and the easier way would be to, use film because I want to talk, I want to speak, I want to show a lot of different angles and perspective. And having graduated during the pandemic and not having had so many like work opportunities, I felt like photography was suddenly just like stressful, limiting. And I did like small short videos before for university, for assignment, and I had to do them. That was a task. So I don't know why, but I just thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself to do video. And because the funding had mentors, and I thought, okay, I could, have someone to talk to back and forth, and yeah, I get a little kick into working on this. And it was very challenging, but I just thought, you know what, this might be just the best medium to make my message pass and be easier to consume. Because I don't know, when I imagine pictures, I think it's like a lot of work to make pictures speak to the audience in the way that you want them to understand what you're talking about. And yeah, they might see, okay, this is like a lot of clothes pollution, but it's a bit hard for them then to like get numbers and stories and like statistic and all that. And I wanted the experience of the viewer to be extremely easy because we're talking about a very delicate topic. And I must say, like, not a lot of people are very, climate conscious in their day-to-day life. And yeah, I wanted that this would be something where the viewer could learn something, and video was, yeah, the best medium.
Oh, okay. And being a photographer, how was the experience for you producing your first film? Like because I mean, of course, the differences between producing photographs and film is way too different. I'm sure you experience. How was that for you?
Very challenging because first of all, I didn't want to be the person editing it. I thought it would be so much responsibility. I mean, I wrote, directed, I did the camera setting, I did like a lot of work. So to have to edit it and then be the one, being judged for the editing, I didn't want that responsibility. So I must say, like, film and photography is like a whole other level. They are like really far away from each other. I think photography is much easier, but I mean, photography is still difficult. Like, you need a lot of skill, but I think with film there is way more skill needed. And one thing that was even more important with making a film is that you need more people. With pictures, you can do it alone, but with film, I think you need to involve all the people. Therefore, you need to know how to work with people. You need to know how to, be held accountable. You need to be on time. You need to, respond on time, and just communicate in general also. And I really like the experience, but I also, face new challenges. Like, when you're taking pictures, what could happen is that, the SD card breaks or something like that, really minor things. But with film, I had like a problem where I was, you can even see it in the film, like at some point they're holding this microphone, but then the sound is still bad because
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but the recorder wasn't recording anymore. And then we had like a limited amount of time left. And I thought it would just be really impossible for me to figure it out. I spent like, I don't know, a good 20 minutes on the microphone. And I thought, you know what, I need to move on, and I need to move on fast. So I don't care, and it kind of fits the narrative because the protagonist is a film student, and the microphone, the sound was only bad when she was filming. So it's like, you know what? That's on purpose. It fits the story. But yeah, like film has way more responsibility.
Uh,
And now I know, like for the next time, I know that I should find, you know, people for sound and for this and for that. Of course, hope to get a bigger budget, but otherwise, yeah, that's a thing.
yeah, it has way too many delicate parts that make a film instead of like, yeah, when you shoot photography, it normally most time just requires you as a photographer. Also, like as a photographer, like I know, like I mean, working with lights and working with like natural light, whatever lighting is available. How was that a stressful thing for you? Like thinking like, okay, cool. Like normally in photography, you know, like when you're gonna light a scene, I mean, you don't light it, you just light the shot, right? But the thing with moving pictures, it's like the shot, the light moves every time the person moves, or every time I move, the light becomes different. Was that part of your thinking when you were actually uh, conceptualizing the story, or did you just like figure like, okay, I'm gonna just do like still shots and just have people in front of the camera, not move the camera around too much? How did you?
So when I was preparing the short film, um I was writing this film based on like the narration I had in my head,
Uh-huh.
and based on like a fictional final product. And then I cared about the light and so on when I was like shooting the scene. Before that, I really focused on how I wanted to look on the final result, like what would be the storyline and the location, and then how I imagine the movements and so on. So like overall, I haven't really been stressed at all about lighting. And maybe, you know, the photography background like helped, that like I was thinking about which time I would shoot, like daylight or not.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was, I don't know, it was quite easy. I was really more worried about the story and the progression, like making more sense, than I was about how it looks, because I was also like, okay, if it's looking like good in terms of quality, and we will edit and color grade it, I have nothing to really worry about, because in my head it's like, oh, it's just like taking a picture, except that there is somebody moving. And if you have a good like setting for a picture, you have already a setting for the video. So I still like following the movement a little bit, and I kind of was, you know, taking it quite simple. And I mean, I've been taking a lot of videos with my iPhone, so for me it was just like, okay, just follow the movement. I try to really get it. Yeah, that's how I can really like best um explain like the technicality behind it.
Was there any point in the film where you actually use artificial lighting? Because I noticed like it looked very like uh more like it looked more towards like just using available light. I didn't pick up any part where you actually kind of use the light, unless I missed that. Was there any part in the film where you actually put in some light?
No, actually everything was natural light.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, yeah, okay. I think then I probably saw like what I imagine is actually what it is. Um, Also, yeah. How long did it take for you to produce the film? Like the actual production phase of the film?
Um like the filming part
Yeah,
was 2 weeks.
like 2 weeks straight, or
No, no, like 2 weeks in total. So we did not shoot every
but
single day.
so it was different
Okay,
days.
in terms of days, maybe like 7 days or something. But like it was many of these days were like half days, you know. So yeah, it was not that much. But then, you know, in between, like all there is to do is to plan and so on. Because like, for example, the bathroom, it was like a lot of different location. Like the bathroom shot, it was a friend's place nearby, and I had to carry all of the plants there. Um and yeah, and like some other shots we like, you know, had to carry things around and all. But yeah, it was mainly like 6 to 7 hours, 6 to 8 hours per shot, and it was quite smooth. Yeah, but like there was some scene that like had to be done at a lot of different locations, so then I would be like, okay, let's do it at different days, so we're not stressed on, yeah, and shooting like too many places in a single day, given that we had no car and we were using public transport. So yeah.
And how big was your crew?
um we were two we were two main persons, and then it would change because like when I had the scene where I was FaceTiming, so I was alone. I did it by myself. I set the tripod on. The one at the bathroom, we did it, me and another person who I did the setting. This person assisted with like the set design and would just like press start and stop, and I would just tell when to start and when to stop it. So yeah, it really depended. And then there was the day where I was doing the interviews outside, then I would have everyone come at like assigned time slots. And then Melon was like trying to be present at every other shootings, and she would be then behind the camera. But yeah, it was quite a small crew, and most of the people involved would just be present for one day of shooting, um, for like a very specific amount of time. I tried not to have everyone be there, the whole time.
The same time, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was quite easy because I didn't want to have people be there when they were not needed. And
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and I don't know, I would say I did like a pretty good job with scheduling, and being time efficient.
Oh, that's good. Okay. And with the pre-production stage of the film, like how many of you were involved in that stage? Was it just you with the
Yeah, it was just me. It was just me in the pre-production part, and then I was also the one going for location scouting and all that, and then Melon was the one working like remotely with me, but she was then helping with like casting people and taking care of like some communication here and there. And yeah, that was really nice and helpful, because then I had enough time to just think about my story and then travel a little bit around the city, to see like, okay, where do I think could fit like my film, my ideas, like which location would be a match. And for example, like the U-Bahn station that looks orange and like that matches the dress that I wore
yeah.
almost the whole time throughout the whole video. That one I was just passing by accident, and I was like, oh, this is the place, this is where I want to shoot that scene. So yeah, it was a very fun, easy, smooth pre-production period.
And how far apart were your locations to each other? Since like you mentioned that you guys didn't have a car and all that.
It was not that far, but there were like two scenes that we had to shoot at two different people's houses that were a bit far, like Charlottenburg, and then the other one was in Friedrichshain, so it was like really, really far. And those two we did in the same day, like this place in the morning and the other one in the afternoon. That day was a bit tough, but the rest, yeah, was quite okay. Like I'm living in Neukölln. The station we went to was like near Frankfurter Allee, so Friedrichshain, and then we did some other shots around Museum Linzel, I think. And yeah, it was not, it was, I mean, it was okay, it was doable, it was fine. Yeah, like I think we would travel each about half an hour in the tube to get from A to B.
Okay.
And we didn't have that much to carry. In general, I would just like, wear the dress and travel to the
Yes.
location dressed like that, have my backpack with like my equipment and stuff. And then when I'm shooting, I'm putting the backpack somewhere, or, having the equipment out of it. And then I'm still having the backpack on me
Oh.
for the shoot. And then we would buy like food and drinks like near the location. So that was nice as well. Yeah.
Also, you already go to the location already dressed, not like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah,
That's what we did. Yeah. I mean, when I was being filmed, otherwise the rest, when I'm filming people, I'm going there like casually and
whatever,
in
yeah.
bag with my equipment and was okay. Yeah. I was just carrying like a tripod, the camera, and the microphone, the one I didn't know how to use properly.
So,
Yeah.
with the mic problems, was most of the sound? I assume most of the sound was from the camera itself, or were there any parts of it that
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
used? So it was
No,
mostly just
yeah,
the
most of
camera.
the sound was from the camera, and it was actually pretty good because most of the time I was indoor, so you could hear me properly, and it was really fine. And when editing, we were able to reduce the noise and all that. But the
Mhm.
problem is the part where the sound was really bad was when we were outdoor, and you
Oh yeah,
had
with
the
the
car
wind,
passing, you had a boat passing,
and then you had
you had a
wind.
lot of, yeah, and then a lot of wind. Yes, that was it. The main problem was the wind. It was like way too much, but yeah, it was okay.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned earlier that you guys had casting as well for the film. Was the casting for the fictional part of it, or did it include also the docu part of it, like the interviews?
Well, the thing is, the whole film is fictional,
Okay, yeah.
and the whole film is like a documentary. So everything was fictional. Even the part that looks very like street documentary was still fictional.
Ah,
So
okay.
yes, everybody was casted. And by casting, I don't necessarily mean like we put an open call out there. I just mean like we were looking for people in our sector that we could engage and that could also have something interesting to bring. But yeah, I'm calling casting basically choosing who and reaching them out and sorting things out with them. And yeah, it was that's more it. And like a friend of mine, Louise, she had the pink and blue hair, and she's like vegan, and I talk a lot with her about our vegan lifestyle, and we give each other tips and recipes and stuff. And she's also very like active and is very opinionated. um she was, she popped up in my mind immediately because I'm like, okay, you have so much to say, and let's talk about the topic first, and then let's see what you have to say. And then I assigned her a character based on her character as well. And so the casting process was more like, hey, what do you think of this? Would you be interested in talking about this on camera? And what do you think about this character, this type of personality? And then like, then I would write something based on how I know them and what their
Okay.
consumption habits also are. And yeah.
So this is regards to the questions you were asking, but the responses were just purely them or
No, the responses were still guided
scripted.
by myself. Yeah, it was
Oh,
still
okay,
scripted.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. That's actually like an interesting. Cause like, when I watched it, I was like, oh, for me, it literally felt like a docu. Like because like for me, the only fictional part was the part where you are at home. You are in the bathroom. You are in the autobahn, not the autobahn. What is it? The train station.
Yeah.
And everything else for me felt like okay, cool. Now this is the docu part of it. Yeah, it's quite an interesting thing that like yeah, you tell me that yeah, most of the whole thing was basically mostly scripted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually like an interesting perspective because I actually didn't look at it that way. I actually have to watch it again and see like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is what I thought was actually part of the docu part, you know. Also, in the documentary, I think the whole documentary is about, or just mostly about intersectional environmentalism. This for me is something new. Could you just elaborate a little bit about what that means? What is intersectional environmentalism?
Basically, that's if I would make it really, really short, it's
Hmm.
just saying that there is no environmental justice without social justice, without racial justice, without women's rights, and that like a lot of problems are just intertwined.
Yeah.
and we need to solve a lot of problem and take in consideration a lot of different layers in order to solve this current issues. Because, for example, the way climate change is affecting the world and the population is not the same for everyone and at every location, and there are people that just cannot fight the same way the others can fight. So, for example, it's much easier for people living in the Western world to make certain changes that people in less uh, resourceful areas can do.
Yeah. So pretty much it's kind of like so intersectional environmentalism is basically like a hub of many different problems that are like
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Like, in order to solve this problem, you also have to think about that problem. Like, for example, let's say if you live in a zone with, oh my God, actually we need to cut this area. It's always hard for me to really explain what it is, like word by word, because it's something I understand more. So let me really find it. Okay. The thing is, I read this thing where like you always have to mention the Black woman who came up with the term. So
Okay.
her name is Kimberly Crenshaw. Yes.
Crenshaw.
Let me look at her quote. Yeah. She has a book called On Intersectionality.
On intersectionality. That's what the book is called.
Yeah. And it's a Black woman. And I think she had this concept even before Audre Lorde.
Even before
I'm
who?
currently,
Even before who?
Audre Lorde, this lady, the one who
Okay, so
wrote
this
Your
is someone
Silence
else.
Will Not Protect You.
Oh, okay.
She's a Black activist and Black woman activist and stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna read this for you too. To many conservative, intersectionality means because you're a minority, you get special standards, special treatment in the eyes of some. It promotes solipsism at the personal level and division at the social level. It represents a form of feminism that puts a label on you. It tells you how oppressed you are. It tells you what you're allowed to say. Intersectionality is just really dangerous, or a conspiracy theory of victimization. That's what the conservative says. For her, she described how race, class, gender, and all the individual characteristics intersect with one another to overlap. So intersectionality has, in a sense, gone viral over the past half decade, resulting in a backlash from the right.
From the
So
conservatives.
yes, so that's what I was then telling you, that it's, you know, it's feminism, it's women's rights, you know, black rights and all that together, if you want climate justice, because it's taking in account like just the different characteristic of everybody.
Yeah, so it's not just the environment itself, like like the earth, but just the people also involved in the environment, like uh black people, all these different minority groups and whatnot, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm ready. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just don't want to say something bad and then have this on the internet forever, you know?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So you
Also,
may ask me the question again. Huh?
it's okay. So also one of the biggest thing about the film also is vintage clothing, or secondhand clothing. What's the vibe like in Berlin about secondhand clothing? Are vintage clothing affordable in Berlin for people to actually actively just pursue them instead of like fast fashion?
I mean, anyway, I would say it's also sometimes okay to buy new clothes, you know. It's just that we need to know where we buy it from and how it's
Mm-hmm.
made, you know. Like, it's good to wear things that are like organic and nicely well produced and not from far away also. So in Berlin, my experience is secondhand clothes are relatively cheap. You find sometimes a lot of really nice things, but there are certain stores that are just way too expensive. And there's also like a certain demand that, like, you know, it's Berlin, everybody wants to buy secondhand clothes when they are here. because that's also the Berlin vibe, but that's just making the prices really higher. So there is a kind of like rise in capitalism from the stores themselves, you know, because now it's like, okay, what is their real motive here? What are they standing for? Because I'm now thinking that not every secondhand store owner might be thinking about the environment when getting into such a business. And yeah, but in general though, it's you can still find cheap things in a lot of different secondhand stores in Berlin. And the garments that they are showing or that they are selling are quite in good conditions, you know, clean and all that. And there is no weird smells in the stores as well, so it's okay. I would say, like, yeah, I've had good experiences buying secondhand stuff in Berlin.
Yeah, because I asked this question because we have a kind of like a similar thing happening in Cape Town. Like I'm from Cape Town, right? And
Mhm.
we have a lot of these pop-up shops. Again, not just pop-up shops. We have like shops like that are just like permanent in their location that sell secondhand vintage clothing. And Cape Town is also like in South Africa is like one of the cities that are like very popular for like young uh people who are into fashion, you know, and
Yeah.
so a lot of young people actively want to buy the and for a long time, young people bought the vintage clothing. I mean, they still do now, but
Mhm.
there's been a spike in prices ever since because now everyone is trying to buy vintage, and now the companies are like, okay, I mean, the shops are like, yeah, you know what, let's just inflate the prices because there's so many people that want to buy the stuff. So it kind of creates like that conflict where you kind of want to support the idea, but at the same time it's too expensive. You rather go to H&M because H&M has cheaper
Exactly.
clothing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a bigger problem now, you know, if because who is going to buy secondhand clothes if you can get very cheap stuff at H&M and M and Zara and all that and look super fly?
And
Like,
you know,
yeah,
and I mean they do make nice clothes, you know. I mean, they do sell nice clothes at H&M. So it's like, what do you do? Do you just go to H&M because H&M you're probably going to get the item new and way less cheap versus if you go to the vintage store who are now selling like basically clothes that used to belong to someone else for very expensive prices, you know. But yeah, what do you think of that? What do you think of company these shops making that kind of business where people are trying to support the idea of vintage clothing, but now they can't really because they can't really afford it.
yeah. Well, that's what I just said before, you know, there's just a rise of capitalistic interest by these stores, and the owners are just confused by what the real motive is, you know.
Yeah,
I think it's really bad because well, you know, sometimes the problem is actually not like us and what we do with our money and our consumption. Like, all we can do is to check ourselves with how what our habits are. But if you want to find solutions, these companies are the one that can guide us because they are the one that can have a bigger impact with their changes, you know. Like, when we are like refusing them to buy such things, then we are forcing them
yeah.
after some time to change the way they are, otherwise they'll be out of business if nobody would buy it there. But yeah, I think it's just like very hypocrite of them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. That's true.
like, there is not more that I could say without sounding utterly dramatic. I think it's just wrong. It's just super, super wrong.
One of the things that's really interested me, like that sparked my attention in your film, was you interviewed a person in your film who from Senegal who used to bully you.
Mhm.
What made you do that for that project? What like was there something in you that was like, yeah, let me just do this and make it part of this film?
Um, yes. So the reason why I did that was when I was thinking about sustainable fashion and stuff, I'm always like trying to take all my everything that I'm doing creatively to kind of connecting with my experience as a person and with my background. And so I thought of Senegal, first of all, and like sustainable fashion there. And while writing the story, I was like, there needs to be some drama in here. There needs to be some trouble somewhere.
Conflict, yeah.
Yeah, a kind of conflict. And so I know that there people buy secondhand, but then it's also all coming from Europe in these like bowls. And it was like, okay, how do I tell that? And I thought the bullying would be great because I don't know, we are very sassy as Senegalese in the way we speak our language. It's like very, very sassy. I don't know how to even explain it in English.
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, someone bullying you for wearing such clothes would be actually very correct. And yeah, and I think the idea just worked. Like it came from there, and I just like thought about it a bit longer and developed it. And I also spoke about it with Hadi, who's like playing the role of the bully. And you know, we were both like, yeah, that's right, actually this is like something somebody would do in Senegal. And we thought it could, yeah, it could bring some light, because there's a lot of other civilizations and cultures where people are actually, you know, still bullying you for dressing like that. I mean, even in Europe these kind of things have been happening. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. That and that was an actor as well. That was not the actual bully.
No, 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 no. That was a fictional character. I
Wow.
think it seems like I did a good job with
Yeah,
my fictional part, because everyone believed that everything have happened, but it actually haven't happened. So it's a fictional film that's like in the style of a documentary, but it's all fictional.
yeah.
So that person haven't been bullying me. Let's not ruin her image.
Yeah, I'm honestly amazed because I really I think you did a really good film, like a really good story in the idea that I mean, like the fact that people
I
get
wanted
so
it to touch
immersed in
people.
it.
I
Huh?
wanted it to be like a social problem, and I wanted to show it like that, because
Yeah,
then
yeah.
everyone would be like, damn, poor girl, she was being bullied
Yeah.
for wearing those clothes, you know?
It's actually
Um,
really smart. Like I really bought into it. I really thought this person was your was your bully back in the day. You know, yeah. I really thought that was the case. But yeah, I really enjoyed your film. To wrap this up, like really enjoyed your film, and
Thank you.
I
That's
hope
really nice to hear.
I hope a lot more people can actually get to see it, and I hope you get to do more projects like that, and so that
I'm
we can
currently
see.
working on something new, but it's a bit of a different direction. It's a motion design video that will be
Mm-hmm.
talking about similar topic. But yeah, after this experience making my first official short film,
Short film, yeah.
I'm definitely not gonna stop here. I'm gonna move on, and I'll make similar stuff. And I think, yeah, I feel like I'm gonna go more for fiction, but with a lot of
So,
like twist and turn, and see how it goes. I'll make sure to have someone for the microphone.
someone for
But
every
yeah,
bit of department. Yeah, just
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Those will be like very serious foreground roles.
Oh yeah. Thank you very much, Omo, for coming to this podcast and talking to us about your film. It was really
Thank
nice
you
to
so
have
much.
you. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Till
Really
next
great.
time. Till we meet again. Cheers.
Exactly. Bye.